the goal is to obviously bring the attention to a lot of Americans of the persecution of what's going on in Iran, countries like China, and Christian persecution where they execute them for their faith. You know, that people have taken their faith for granted, as far as, you know, especially here in the United States, but now with not being able to go to churches, which is a violation of our inalienable rights, we need to start standing up.
The deception that is happening today is greater than ever in the history of time. It is not by chance that Jim Caviezel is becoming one of the top faces of anti-child trafficking. By now, you should know that he not only starred in the movie Sound of Freedom, which shined the light on the dark world of sex trafficking of children, but he also became famous to the world and many churchgoers during his role as Jesus in the Passion for Christ movie. What both of these movies portray is significant to the prophecy given by the Messiah regarding the deception most are living in and what is expected. But before I expose this great end of the age wool that has been placed over the eyes of many Christians, let me say this. The selfless work of many who tirelessly return children to their families is, without question, a blessing. And to bring these criminals to justice is something that needs to be done every time. I have had a chance to interview hundreds of them face to face, and it felt good knowing that these evil people were behind concrete and steel and away from children. With that being said, the truth that I will share is not about the much needed work being done to protect children, but the true agenda that Satan is using and the reason why you probably can't see it. In recent years, several famed people have come forth risking what seems to be everything to expose the damage being done and how they will not go along with this global agenda. Because of this, they are calling citizens of America and the world to join them in the fight. What is the objective? Rise up and stand against the powers to be on every front. But why now? If you've been paying attention, these people have explained that what has been happening to children worldwide isn't new. It has taken place for many years. So why has there been a great increase in people in the recent years exposing the wickedness that most of them have known about in industries like Hollywood from day one? One of the main reasons, whether you agree or not, is that those who are patriotic fear what is coming. The end of America and the rise of a single global nation that fully and openly dictates your every move is a terrible thought that is increasingly becoming a reality. And what also looks to be fast approaching is the end of claiming to follow the God of heaven and his son and never having to prove it.
After a conversation with police, Lynn was taken into custody and charged with causing a disturbance.
Pastor David has been arrested for preaching the gospel right here in Toronto, just because we went to a gay community that needs to hear the gospel.
This is why such strong efforts are happening to expose evil rulers in the shadows. They name those who they believe control society and ask for you, the people, to rise and fight against them. This is the obvious answer to what is in front of us and why famous people want your help. But when you cut through all the fluff and are led by the spirit of truth, then you can get to the root of what really is being asked. You will see that it goes far beyond saving children or the future for a patriotic American Christian. The harsh reality is that most are being deceptively led in the completely wrong direction through the obvious reality that the doors of the illusion of freedom are closing swiftly. This is why most believe there's hope if the world rallies and stand against those who run the nations. Because of this tremendously wrong perception, most blindly reach for what the Apostle Paul said the world would ask for. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. For when they say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. Many people can't miss what is happening worldwide, whether watching the news or just looking out their window. Anarchy and immorality are everywhere. But what is greatly missed is that these are warnings and signs of the times that a complete global fallout is coming. And while some may tell you that it is the plans of the globalists, it is actually what the Almighty has in store. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 7. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work, and only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. In his timing, the Heavenly Father will release the man of sin, and he will have complete reign over the earth. There will no longer be a mysterious figure behind the scenes who props up front men with ploys, deception, and distractions. When the man of sin is finally revealed, the world's population will see everything that reflects holiness as evil. And as we speak, this tremendous wickedness is being birthed out of Mystery Babylon. Revelations chapter 17 verse 1 through 5. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked to me, saying to me, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations, and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Many have suggested that the great harlot is the Pope and Mystery Babylon is the Vatican City. But when you biblically test just some of the basic acts of the Catholic faith and the land they thrive in, you can easily see that they do not operate mysteriously or like the ancient Babylonian people. In ancient times, there was no question about who Babylon was. It was a completely godless nation that was ruthless and brutal when it attacked other nations, and they never hid their identity. And when the Babylonians defeated the people of Yahuwah, they didn't pretend to be his righteous leaders or have control over their doctrine or what they were taught. They simply conquered Yasharel and didn't adopt any of their beliefs. The Pope and his impostors claim to have the power to forgive sin and the authority of the gospel, and they are certainly not hiding who they falsely say they are. The biblical reality is that the last and greatest mother of all harlots is Lady Liberty, and America is Mystery Babylon. This explains why the angel tells John that the last Babylon is a mystery to the world. This is Satan's last kingdom on earth, and he is not who Hollywood has portrayed him to be for decades. When the Apostle Paul talked about his work to undermine the false churches in Corinth, he warned him that Satan himself has transformed himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers have transformed themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. Babylon has always been a nation that Satan leads, and during the end of the age of the wicked, its leader no longer operates in an undeniable form, but one that is hidden as righteousness in plain sight. And to solidify this truth, let's briefly look at the rest of the description of America. John writes, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahusha. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. But the angel said to me, Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. These are the 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue for a short time. The beast that was and is not, is himself also the eighth, and is of the seven, and is going into perdition. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as of yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. They will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them. For he is Adonai of Adonais, and King of kings, and those who are with him are called chosen and faithful. Then he said to me, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these will hate the harlot, make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For Yahuwah has put into their hearts to fulfill his purpose, to be of one mind, and to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of Yahuwah are fulfilled. And the woman whom you saw is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. When John writes, the beast was and is not, and yet is, he is speaking of the man of sin who was created by Satan, but is not presently in charge or ruling as foretold, but yet is fully working lawlessness, which is perdition or sin throughout the world. When it comes to the place the harlot sits, the peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, he describes many different people who are in America today. No other nation, not even the Vatican City, is filled with such diverse groups of people from all over the world. What is also important to look at is that in 2022 BC, before the Tower of Babel was established in Babylon, everyone spoke one language. Genesis chapter 11 verse 5 through 9. But Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahuwah said, indeed the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahuwah scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahuwah confused the language of all the earth, and from there Yahuwah scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. America is the present and final Babylonian nation. This is why if you want to be successful in the most influential professions, from NASA to Hollywood, you must speak the world's universal language, English, a dialect created by those who have left an undeniable footprint throughout history as savages, thieves, and imposters. This is also why they claim to be one nation under God, but were created through ungodly acts, and why it is known as the United States, but has never actually been united in any way, especially according to the word of Yahuwah they unbiblically swore on for decades. Elohim willing, I'll be able to provide more details about these specific truths in a separate video. But let's keep moving forward. When John also records the 10 horns, each with a king and waiting for a kingdom, these are the 10 world rulers waiting for the beast or the Antichrist to rise and give them their authority for the one world order. This also explains why the angel tells John that Yahuwah has put in their hearts to fulfill his purpose, to be of one mind and to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of Yahuwah are fulfilled. And the woman, again, is the great whore, Lady Liberty, who all nations have greatly fornicated with. This is why you can find the same debauchery and influence everywhere you go. The next 3 verses in the next chapter clear up any confusion about the harlot and America. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and have become a dwelling place for demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every clean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. At this point in the prophecy, Babylon hasn't fallen the way many believe. What John hears from the angel tells us what caused the fall, and we see it more than ever. No other nation on the face of the planet today leads in fulfilling this prophecy, making the world's corporation extremely wealthy. This is also the land at the forefront, pushing evil agendas, some of which have not been known to mankind until now. Because every foul spirit you can name is locked up in the home of the brave, Babylon will fall. Here is how she will fall, and it has nothing to do with being a nation that is turned from the God of heaven, or people who have fallen away from the truth, as so often wrongly claimed. Revelation chapter 18 verse 21. Then a mighty angel took up a stone, like a great millstone, and threw it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down, and shall not be found any more. Remember when the angel said to John, The waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues? The sea that is being described where the angel will throw the stone is in the heart of Babylon. He speaks of a stone because throwing stones was an act of condemnation or a death sentence given to the one who was found guilty during the time of the law. And the reason why it will be like a great millstone is because this stone was made to grind things like wheat into flour. The condemnation coming will be massive and will bring that which stood as something down to powder or dust. So what does this have to do with Jim Caviezel? Jim and many others are doing the will of the enemy. Yahusha and other prophets declare that a one-world government will be inevitable. But those who claim to be his messengers are sending a message that doesn't align with what the Messiah has made known to us. The book of Revelation is fulfilling at the will of our Father. And if it didn't, then he will be a liar. But these movie stars and many others are asking for you, who say you believe in the Almighty, to join them in a fight against the evil ones that Yahuwah has put in their hearts to do his will. They call for a battle against wickedness according to the flesh, which is obviously not the fight of the church. It is pretty sobering to see many Christians who claim to follow the God of heaven, yet desire to stop what he said must happen. Even though they fully know what's coming, they have the wrong expectations and sadly will land on the wrong side of the total chaos that is coming. When Yahusha warned his followers of what we see today, he told them, Watch, therefore, and pray always that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. This was the only battle and survival plan given to the people of the Most High God. He never told them to make sure they pick a side in the world. He told them to stay in prayer and watch how they walk so they won't become victim to the destruction of the nation that leads the worst and unstoppable flood of immorality. Those who faithfully follow the true Messiah know this, but those who have a heart for the world can't see it because of where they stand with Yahuwah. In verse 4 of chapter 4, James asks, Do you not know that friendship with the world is enemy with Elohim? Whoever wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of Elohim. The American Christian or Catholic patriots who want friendship with the world, or at least America, is in danger of facing the only one who is undefeated and cannot be stopped. Unknowingly, they're committed to standing against the woke culture, which clearly lays the final foundation for the son of perdition, out of which a great millstone will be thrown and violence will erupt as people will literally be at war defending whatever they believe in, but rather a request that emotion leads many back to church, and the devil knows it. He is exploiting the fears of people just like 3 years ago. This is the same type of push that drove masses to irrationally do something they would most likely not have done or didn't even need. Because of how this movie is being projected, anxiety will steer many right where Satan wants them, standing ready to fight in places they were not called.
Sound of Freedom is one of those films that can legitimately change this world. So we want to ignite a fire in audiences and open their eyes to the dark reality of millions of children that need our help. Let's make this film a historic event and the end of child trafficking. Theaters across this country are already selling out. Pre-order your tickets today, and you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
And when the inevitable chaos, loss, and suffering becomes worldwide, many will beg for the peace and safety solution to the madness that the man of sin will offer. And the answer will be directly connected to big tech's goal that's being pushed much faster today since the first known experiment back in 1998. Tim Ballard, who was portrayed by Jim Caviezel, is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad. And he said, "From what I've seen, I've become convinced this chipping program is the only way to effectively protect our children in the digital age. Get your kids chipped now." He suggests that to keep children safe from child trafficking, you should chip them in a hurry. Doesn't this sound just like what we all heard about staying safe just a few years back? Do you think it's a coincidence? If the overall goal is exposing the illegal billion-dollar child corporation, why would he tell you to digitally connect your child to those who control the system and are protected from being held accountable for what they do or help others do? Or do you believe that it is just by chance or out of some righteous desire that Elon Musk endorsed the Sound of Freedom movie and even gave them free space on Twitter to receive donations, even though his company Neuralink just received the approval to begin chipping humans? So much truth is out there that connects the dots and is no longer hidden. But the reason why you probably don't see it is because you are following the mainstream narrative. And even though they tell you now is not the time to live in fear, they are pushing their message with the fear of what could happen and how you can prevent it.
This morning, let's take a snapshot of the birth of America's freedom, the birth of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because we are losing these freedoms right now. To create an environment where the Pilgrims could survive, God the Almighty blew their ship 250 miles off course to a landing place where they would find one of the most talented and significant people in American history, an English-speaking Native American named Squanto, who showed them how to survive. He wrote and presented a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans that kept the peace for 50 years. These Pilgrims entered into a covenant with God.
This is the same story that has been told from day one. There is a huge disconnect between biblical reality and what the masses have been taught. When the Mayflower landed, it carried men, women, and children slaves who were trafficked across the Atlantic Sea. Do you know what those slaves were used for? It wasn't just to build the last Babylonian nation. It was for the same acts talked about in this movie, which is how enslaved children came to resemble their owners. These are vital facts that must be considered to truly understand why, for decades, the abuse of children is now hidden in the big screen. Without these evident truths, obvious deception is missed.
Either making the adrenochrome or they're using it to, from what I was told, is that, and also for making agents to, kill people with it.
How can you be a devout Catholic at the same time a person committed to returning children to their families? Children, particularly boys, were religiously victimized in ancient Rome and Greece. Then, of course, came the Roman Catholic Church in 590 EC. And what the Romans did, so have these hijackers and imposters of the faith continued to do since their inception. These people were the same Puritans who left the UK and set sail to America, bringing tons of slaves with them. The history that was written that the land of the free was founded by righteous men has been one of the biggest lies ever told. Being called to stand up and fight because the nation is losing what it stands for and its children is nothing more than a call to remain tied to deception and the coming destruction. However, a warning is given before the angel tells about the great violence from within that will destroy America. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive her plagues." The call that Jim, Tim, and all who truly claim to believe in the God of heaven should give to the people is one that reflects scripture. Come out of the world rather than get chipped, so that they can continue in the world and easily be found with an implanted solution. And neither should they tell believers to stand and fight against the wicked, which is something never taught or demonstrated by the Messiah. Should parents know the danger of the multi-billion-dollar industry? Absolutely. During my time with the DOJ, I fully know how ruthless these evil people are and how it is a win for many when they are off the streets. This is one of the reasons why after I left the government, I became very involved in bringing awareness to children and adults about real dangers in their community. But regardless of how much I or anyone else desires to serve justice to everyone involved, it will not stop the wicked who rule. All will continue and get worse until the word of Yahweh is fulfilled. Because as Job said, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. While they govern and many continue to aid in righteousness for children, it's important not to be deceived into thinking you can stand, fight, and eventually defeat the enemy as most of us would like. We were never called to create a utopian society. This is Satan's goal for everyone who loves this world. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 4 through 5, Yahushua warns the disciples to take heed that no one deceives them. For many will come in his name claiming to be the Messiah and will deceive many. What is often missed is that people believe that there will be those who will come out saying that they are the Son of God and will pretend to be the Savior and fool a lot of people. But the truth is, many will come claiming to be sent on his behalf with the answer, solution, or resolutions to whatever the problem is and will lead many people astray. This is what we see when we look at a lot of the Hollywood stars who are coming out and trying to defend whatever it is they want to defend. They're telling you that they believe as you believe in the Son of the living God and that we have to stand and rise against the evil people in the world. This was never a call given to the people of the Most High God. This is not why the Messiah was sent. Our responsibility is to turn from sin and be the light of the world and to shine in places where there is complete darkness. It's important that we understand the word that is given to us and that we walk according to it and not what people are saying. This is one of the greatest reasons why the Apostle Paul tells us to study to show ourselves approved, and it is being approved unto Yahuwah. And when we find ourselves fully studying his word, we can apply it in context and understand the season that we're living in and how we ought to respond according to the will of the Most High God. Praise Yahuwah for allowing me another opportunity to be able to share his word, to warn the believers, to strengthen us and edify us according to what is given in the good news or the gospel. Hey, if this video encouraged you, go ahead and like and subscribe and share with others. Elohim willing, I'll be able to share another video next week, maybe even continuing in the series about what the kingdom of heaven will be like. All right. Hey, you guys stay encouraged. Keep Yahuwah at the forefront of your life. And remember to always be blessed.